China's spy balloon over the USA. The full story uncovered. Hello my friends. Today, we dive into a story so wild, so shocking, so interesting you won't believe it's true. Let's start in early 2023. Americans looked up into the sky, and what they saw sparked panic, headlines, and a major geopolitical crisis. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a satellite. It was a balloon. A massive white orb floating at high altitude over the United States, passing silently over military bases, nuclear missile silos, and entire cities. It was later confirmed this was no weather experiment. This was a Chinese surveillance balloon, and it set off one of the most tense standoffs between China and the United States in recent memory. But what was it really doing there? Why didn't the US shoot it down immediately? And what did it reveal about the future of global espionage? Let's break down the full story of China's spy balloon over the USA. The sighting. What Americans saw. It started in late January 2023. People in Montana noticed a large, white object drifting slowly across the sky. It was visible to the naked eye, unusually large for a typical weather balloon. On February 1st, U.S. defense officials confirmed it. A high-altitude surveillance balloon, originating from the People's Republic of China, is over U.S. airspace. Double quotes within hours. The story dominated headlines. The object was spotted over Billings, Montana, not far from Malmstrom Air Force Base, home to Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles. The big question, was this just a balloon, or a deliberate attempt to spy on American military assets? China responds, just a weather balloon. China quickly issued a statement. Their foreign ministry claimed the balloon was a civilian meteorological research airship blown off course by strong winds not intended to violate U.S. airspace. Beijing expressed regret, but emphasized that it had no military purpose. But U.S. intelligence didn't buy it. American officials stated the balloon had steering capabilities, not drifting randomly, surveillance equipment, including antennas and solar panels. No weather sensors typically seen on research balloons. This wasn't just a drifting balloon. It was a guided aircraft, capable of hovering, transmitting data, and targeting sensitive sites. What was on board? Balloon tech explained when U.S. jets finally shot the balloon down. More on that later. Military teams recovered large parts of the debris. Here's what the balloon carried. Multiple antennas capable of collecting signals. Intelligence. A solar-powered payload the size of a small airliner. Equipment designed to intercept communications. And radar and onboard navigation system, meaning it could steer, not just drift. Propellers and rudders for directional control. Experts concluded this wasn't just surveillance. This was electronic warfare in the sky. What shocked many was that China would use such visible, low-tech means for such a high-risk mission. But the simplicity may have been the point. It evaded radar until it was visually spotted. The path, crossing the United States. Over the next several days, the balloon floated across the continental United States, following a path that alarmed defense officials. It passed over Montana's missile silos, South Dakota's Ellsworth AFB, Missouri's Whiteman AFB, North Carolina, South Carolina. Each of these locations is home to critical U.S. military infrastructure, from bombers to missile defense to command centers. The balloon's slow pace made it even more concerning. It could hover, observe, and collect signals, unlike satellites, which pass overhead in minutes. For nearly a week, it drifted across America, under close surveillance, but not immediately shot down. This raised a question. Why didn't the U.S. take it out earlier? Why wait to shoot it down? As outrage grew, so did public pressure. Why was a suspected enemy surveillance aircraft allowed to float freely over American soil? The Pentagon explained. 1. Safety of civilians. Shooting it down over land risked debris falling on people or property. 2. Intelligence opportunity. By monitoring the balloon, the U.S. could study its capabilities and communications. 3. Recovery plans. Waiting until it was over water would allow for easier debris recovery and analysis. On February 4, 2023, as the balloon drifted off the coast of South Carolina, an F-22 Raptor fighter jet fired a single AIM-9X Sidewinder missile. Direct hit. The balloon fell into shallow waters, where Navy divers and FBI tech teams began recovering the wreckage. The message was clear. You crossed the line. Now we respond. What did China learn? What did we learn? According to U.S. intelligence, China likely intended to collect signals intelligence sighted from military bases, radar signatures for missile targeting, communications traffic from mobile and satellite devices, mapping electromagnetic emissions for future targeting. But there's a twist. U.S. officials claim they mitigated the balloon's ability to collect sensitive data, possibly by jamming or shielding key installations as it passed overhead. At the same time, American analysts gained rare insight into China's surveillance methods, tech designs, and decision-making. So, while China may have learned something, the U.S. may have learned more. Global implications after the incident. Multiple nations came forward: Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, and India, claiming similar balloons had passed over their territory in recent years. The U.S. confirmed that at least 40 countries had been targets of China's balloon-based surveillance program. This wasn't a one-off event. It was part of a global intelligence campaign, using high-altitude balloons for strategic spying in ways satellites couldn't. Why balloons? They can loiter over a target, fly lower than satellites. Collecting different signals are cheap, expendable, and hard to detect by radar, sometimes even appear civilian at first glance. In other words, perfect for plausible deniability. Diplomatic fallout. The political backlash was swift and fierce. Secretary of State Antony Blinken immediately canceled a planned trip to Beijing, meant to stabilize tensions after years of rising hostility. The Chinese government accused the U.S. of overreacting and violating international norms by shooting down what they still insisted was a weather balloon. U.S. lawmakers, both Democrat and Republican, demanded stronger airspace defenses, sanctions on Chinese companies involved in the balloon tech, a full investigation into U.S. vulnerabilities. For many, the balloon was symbolic, not just of spying, but of a superpower rivalry entering a new, more volatile phase. Where are we now? In the aftermath, U.S. defense agencies enhanced radar systems to detect slow-moving objects, reviewed protocols for unidentified aerial threats, considered how to better intercept and respond in real time. Meanwhile, Congress passed new cybersecurity and airspace bills. And China? They doubled down, accusing the U.S. of flying its own balloons and drones over Chinese territory. Whether true or not, one thing is clear: the skies have become a new battlefield, not with fighter jets, but with floating surveillance platforms, space-based weapons, and AI-powered intelligence tools. Lessons from a balloon. So, what did the spy balloon incident teach us? Espionage isn't always hidden. Sometimes it floats right over your head. Even low-tech tools can pose high-level threats. Airspace security is no longer just a military issue. It's a national policy priority. The new Cold War isn't coming. It's already here, and it includes the air, cyberspace, and the cloud. The balloon was shot down, but the questions it raised are still floating. Call to action: if this video gave you insight into the real world of global espionage, give it a like, subscribe for more real-world spy stories, defense analysis, and geopolitical breakdowns. Hit the bell so you never miss a classified upload. Question of the day: was the Chinese balloon an act of war, or just strategic surveillance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and keep your eyes on the sky. See you in the next video with unique story.